Hello gorgeous humans, assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to another YouTube video. Now today's one is going to be a little bit different. I have had so many comments in some of my previous videos asking how can we see your everyday makeup routine, can we see the makeup that you've been doing in your videos? And guys, genuinely, when I say I learned how to do makeup once when I was like 16 using YouTube videos, and I have just done the same thing ever since. So I'm going to take you guys through my everyday makeup routine today, and I'm going to give you the biggest, fattest disclaimer that I am absolutely by no means a makeup influencer. I am just a girl who does pretty much this look all of the time and wanted to share it with you. So a biggest disclaimer that this video is basically going to be chaotic. It's going to be exactly like your big sister just showing you how she does her makeup in her room. And this is probably exactly how I gave my baby sister a tutorial a couple of years ago. And I'm pretty sure it's exactly what she does now day to day as well. So basically, let's get straight into my everyday makeup routine. This is going to be everything I do day to day. I basically elevate it a little bit. If it's for a wedding, I add like lashes, maybe a different color of lipstick. But otherwise, this is my go-to holy grail, exactly how I do my makeup every single day. Right, okay, so I've just got obviously a fresh face on. I pretty much just washed my face and did my morning skincare. So we're gonna go from there as if you've already done your morning skincare. Now, next and first thing I always do is just prep skin with like some sort of SPF. So I use this one. I hope that's focused, but it's basically just the Kiehl's Ultralight Daily UV Defense. Any SPF that you love works well. For me, I think I just tried a couple of brands. There was a few, but this one actually leaves my skin feeling a bit glowy, and obviously it fully depends what you like. But for me, as far as like makeup and stuff goes, glowy is absolutely the way. So yeah, pretty much just put that in. I don't know about you guys, but every time the season sort of changes, I end up with a bit of a breakout and some scarring that is left from it. But alhamdulillah, I've been really regular with my facials at the moment, and my skin is like, I think it's doing better, especially since the move. I realized when I first ever moved to Cambridge, the change in water, like obviously they've got really, really hard water, it just meant like my skin was so unhappy, and it took my skin and my hair actually was so unhappy. Right, okay, I think I'm just gonna pin my hijab back to make this a bit easier. There we go. Gorgeous. Same on this side. Okay, amazing. Now SPF is done. We are going to go in with, obviously kind of let that sit in your skin, let it get a bit tacky, and then I'm going to go in with this, which is the Too Faced Hangover Primer. This one's just really good. I think for me, primer is a step, by the way, that I skip quite a lot. If I've put SPF on and I feel like my skin's all right, especially on an everyday kind of makeup, not even because like I want to skip a step, I actually just forget a lot of the time. But for me, because my kind of nose T-zone is probably my most, I feel like I have really kind of big pores around there. So that's just the place that I prefer to basically make sure I put primer on, essentially. But otherwise, it's a step that I don't always do, because this is going to be more of like an everyday kind of makeup video, although there isn't much difference between my everyday and then when I go all out. Okay, I found it. So before I started using this, by the way, this is the brow pencil that I'm currently using from Rimmel. It is called Brow This Way, which I had to pick up really last minute. I usually literally just use like a £2 Primark pencil, which looks almost the same. It's got a brush on one end, pencil on the other, but it's just so good. And for £2, you absolutely cannot go wrong. So basically that's what I use. My brows are kind of in a shape that I generally like anyway, so I don't do much. I kind of brush them out so that I'm happy with them, and then we're just going to basically align the front gap, pretty much that. Essentially what I mean is I don't fill much, just because I've got pretty dark black hair anyway, so I don't do much. Sorry, give me a sec. I need to get up close and personal with this mirror right now. yeah, I don't do too much. I kind of just fill in any light gaps that I have and leave it as that, just because my brows are dark as it is. I just feel like they don't really need much, so probably just the tiniest bit neatening of the brow, and that's pretty much it. Right, okay. That is quite literally all I do. Obviously, I know brows for some people are a much bigger step just because you've got more work to do, but I just like to leave it as simple as this. Now, when I'm doing like a kind of more of a nicer face or for an event, I will usually use some concealer, carve them out or whatever, but we're doing an everyday look, so I don't usually have the time for that. Now, next step is my foundation. This is the one I use, which is the NARS Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. I use this in the shade Aruba. I think, I mean, you guys can let me know. I think this is a little dark, but once I've like kind of set it into my skin and stuff, I really like it. And I generally like a bit of more of like a bronzier look. So we're going to go in with that. I'm not going to put it on my hand and do the whole thing. I just kind of go straight in. I'm not going to lie to you, because again, this is like a lazy girl, quick makeup routine. And as you can see, I don't really use a lot, especially on a day-to-day basis. I literally just need enough to give me a really nice finish. And also this foundation in particular is really high coverage, for me anyway. I don't know what the specifics are in terms of what the brand says, but I think this is really good high coverage. Like, you can kind of see this now. It pretty much covers up any like redness, pinkness that I have going on. And I use this brush, which is the one from, what are they called? Wow, this truly is the most chaotic get ready with me ever. What on earth is that brand called again? You guys know what I'm talking about. It's that like very, very common brush brand. So the name's going to come to me in about 5 minutes, I bet you. Anyway, we're going to buff that all into the skin. I just do like a bit of a pat, pat, pat technique. Again, not a makeup influencer. So for real, take everything I'm telling you with a pinch of salt. Yeah, so I kind of just do that all over my face. Alice, feel free to cut this part, but yeah. Okay, amazing. So now my foundation is pretty much like first step set into the skin. I'm not like finished with it yet, but my next step is going to be to put in my concealer. I'm using this one, the Born This Way concealer. It's like a conceal contour highlight kind of one, but I feel like the coverage again is really good. So on like an everyday look, I just need a tiny bit. I don't really go all out with this because I feel like it's really high coverage as well. So yeah, I'm just gonna put a bit in the corner of my eye and then a bit over there, and that is about it. For my nose, I put a little bit sort of down here, and then again on full kind of coverage days, I'll kind of go in and do the whole concealer type of bit. Actually, do you know what? Let's do it. So like a bit here and a bit here. That's about it. I'm gonna let that sit for a bit. I've seen there is like no concealer video on planet Earth I've ever seen that doesn't tell you to let your concealer sit. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'm letting it sit, and then I'm gonna go in and sort my contour out. This is probably the one step that I think if I ever skip, I can just tell in my makeup. So it's worth the like couple of minutes extra. So this is the blush that I have. It's not blush, sorry. It's the kind of concealer thing that I use. It's from Blursh, and it is in the shade Caramel Chisel. And all I do, as you will see, no techers whatsoever, I just essentially go in where my cheekbone sort of is and then kind of curve it down a little bit, and same thing here. And then I'm going to do the same thing down my nose. I know I'm going to look crazy because this is essentially what my husband always laughs at, but I kind of go just down my nose like that. I know you can go all the way from your like eyebrows and whatnot, but we're doing a quick everyday makeup. And then same thing under my chin, just to chisel out my cheekbones. Your girl looks crazy. So now I'm gonna go in with this brush, which is again from Real Techniques. That's what they were called. There we are. This brush, I think it is the contour brush. These are so old that, oh no, there we go. Contour brush, yeah. Don't know if it's gonna pick up on that, but yeah. So I'm gonna go in with this, and while I'm letting the concealer sit, I basically just sort of buff this out. You see that there. And whenever I'm doing this, I always try my best to make sure that I'm blending sort of upwards, just because, again, that's what I learned online. So genuinely, like, for context, guys, I, as you can tell, clearly just don't really care as much about my makeup anymore. I was one of those kids that never wore makeup at all, and then suddenly in sixth form, when, you know, my mum let me experiment a little bit, then I got obsessed with like YouTube makeup tutorials and whatnot, and that was obviously a very different time. So like I was obsessed, learned like a couple of makeup routines, and to be honest, I don't think I ever learned anything since. Those makeup routines have pretty much carried me through the next chapter of my life. So like 26-year-old me really thanks 16-year-old me, who went through the bad phases of makeup, who tried to learn, because, you know, I guess I'm in a decent place now thanks to her. So yeah, same thing with my nose. I just use this exact same brush, but I know if you want to be more precise, you could probably go in with like a thinner brush specifically for your nose. But we're doing like express lazy girl, on the go gym girl kind of makeup today, so forgive me, but this is all you get. Okay, right, so now that's my nose blended out, same with the little bits like around here. Okay, and I feel like I've let my concealer sit for like ever now, so we're going to go in and sort that out. With my concealer, I use, if I can find it, this brush. So this is from Jessup's actually. I got like a set of eyeshadow brushes a really long time ago, and I now just use this one for my concealer. It came, oh, there we are, 142 concealer buffer. That is this one. And it's really funny, I never touched this for so long, and then only recently while I was unpacking did I realize I had literally a fresh set of brushes that I just never touched. Anyway, here we are. So now I'm gonna blend out my concealer. If you do notice me switching hands when it comes to my brushes, it's because I am ambidextrous. Top fact of the day. I can actually use both hands for most things. So essentially, like I'm a southpaw when it comes to boxing. Even badminton, things like that, I hold the racket with my left hand, but I write with my right hand. So knives, scissors, all of that, I'm left-handed. Really strange, but it comes in handy when it comes to makeup because it means I can use both hands. Anyway, so with my concealer, I am like kind of tapping it along the inside of my nose. I feel like it just helps with that chiseled look, and obviously it will look a bit less crazy than it does right now. Okay, and pat like a little bit along the bits that hit the light, so like this corner of my bit and there over there, the tip of my nose. Right, same thing here and same thing here, just lightly kind of blending out as much as I can. Right, okay, that is that, and now everything is kind of where it needs to be but not fully set into my skin. And so now I go in with my Real Techniques beauty blender. This is just one I picked up in Superdrug. It's obviously the kind of, or the OG sponge, and I don't wet it, to be honest. I don't know if people still do that, but personally I don't really like it, so I just wash it every so often, but I don't wet it before I use it. Anyway, now I'm going to go in and just basically use that to really blend everything into my skin, just to make sure everything is like where it should be and it doesn't look bitty or sort of not blended. So yeah, amazing. We're going to go in and do that pretty much over every inch of my skin. Now you might notice on like the inside of my eye, product picks up a little bit, and that literally is because I have a little bit of dryness on the inside of this eye, which just means I kind of avoid putting any concealers and stuff like that over it, just because I feel like my dry skin kind of picks it up and it doesn't look very nice. Anyway, so that's kind of the base bit done. My foundation, concealer, all of that stuff for like an everyday look, and it's just basically a really nice flushed base finish before we go in with adding color and stuff like that. So give me a second, I'm gonna go wash my hands. Okay, hands are washed. Sorry, I think it's just every time I touch my makeup sponge, I just don't want to touch other things before I wash my hands. Okay, amazing. So now what I'm going to do is just do basically the tiniest bit to my eyes. And I do this most days, not every day, but it does help with just basically, it's like the 5 seconds extra of your makeup routine that just goes such a long way in making like the whole thing just look more finished. So anyway, I'm going to go in with this brush from Jessup's. Honestly, any sort of eyeshadow buffing brush will do, and I quite literally use the exact same one for almost everything. And then I'm using this sorry, it's a bit dirty, but this Nude Ambition Morphe palette, which is very cute. It's got like all of the browns, neutrals that I like. I'm such a browns on my eyes girl, I think, because I've got brown eyes. So yeah, I'm gonna go in with this one, Headline Nudes, if you can see it, which is basically just any light brown, nudie shade that sort of just matches my eye. So my skin around my eyes, obviously my eyelids. So feel free to do the same. But essentially all I'm going to do is buff like it around the outside of my eyelid. I basically go along the crease and let it sort of do its thing. I don't know if you can literally see the difference already, but it makes a huge difference, and it's literally like 5 seconds, which is quite crazy. So yeah, I am going to do the same thing on this side, just buff that color into the crease of my eye. I kind of let it come out a little bit. Literally not much technique to this, like quite literally just keep your brush sort of light, like don't pack on too much product, tap it off before you put it on and buff it out. That is it. If you want to be fancy, you can go in underneath your eye, but I can't be bothered today. So actually, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm just going to use a slightly smaller brush, but feel free to use the same one if you feel like you can do it without making too much of a mess like under your eyes. But quite literally just buff like a little bit of color underneath and you'll be fine. By the way, if you didn't know already, with this channel, it very much is like big sister content that just makes your life easier but isn't too pretentious. And I hope that shows, because I could never be, I just wish I could, but I just can't be that girl that looks like 10/10 perfect online. I'm just showing you exactly how to do the things that I taught my younger sister to do. So anyway, one thing you can do if you wanted to like elevate this look a tiny bit is literally go in with any of these lighter shades. I wouldn't go in with the white, I think it's a bit harsh, but something like this, like a shade below, and I will show you exactly what to do. So I'm using like a flatter brush, and all I'm going to do is basically pat it onto the inner corner of my eye, and you'll see sort of what it does. It just builds like a little bit of depth. There we are. Yeah, it literally just builds like a little bit of depth into the inner corner and gives your eye like a really nice shape. Obviously this does depend what shape your eye is, but I think it works really well for me. I actually did my own makeup for like my Mendi and stuff, and I just used a lot of these techniques that I'm explaining. Obviously I kind of built them out a lot more, but that's it. And then I'm going back in with this buffing brush, the one that we used originally, and just basically, obviously because now we've added a different color, I'm just sort of buffing it out. There we are. That is literally it. So as far as eyes go, that's done. I think that took me about 3 minutes, but honestly, when you're not chatting and you're just doing it yourself, it could literally take you probably less than a minute. So it's a worthwhile, quick thing to do. Next up, we've done eyes. I'm going to add my liquid blush now, because we're basically almost done when it comes to base. This one is the She Glam one in the shade Rose Ritual. You can probably see it there. I don't know if that's the right way around. Yeah, I think we are. Amazing. Yeah, so in the shade Rose Ritual, this one comes with like a little spongy thing already. So I am quite literally just going to apply it to like the top of my cheeks. I like putting a bit on my nose as well. And then I'm going to show you this thing that I saw on Instagram. This, so basically what we're going to do is, sorry, let me just get you guys the, yep, Dusty Rose. So this one's called Dusty Rose by Elf. And one of the hacks that I saw on Instagram was essentially to kind of mix your blush, but one of the shades kind of do a bit lower towards like the apple of your cheek. So as you can see, they're really quite similar, but I have been doing this and I feel like it did make a bit of a difference. So yeah, anyway, I basically just put 2 blushes on to make it simple for you. And then I'm gonna go in, this is an unbranded brush. I honestly don't remember where I got it from, but any sort of slightly denser buffing brush would work well for this. And I'm just gonna start on the kind of highs of my cheek. I always smile for this part, so ignore if I look crazy, but I think it just helps me to know exactly where I want the blush to kind of really sit. And so for me, this kind of full part of my cheek is where I love blush sort of sitting. I know some people prefer it just being up high over here, whatever it is, but I think for me, since I have quite full cheeks anyway, I'm not against a bit of blush, you know. But yeah, and I do sort of create that little V. Again, I feel like with blush, it really is preference. Like I remember I did a couple of my friends' makeup for like weddings and things like that. And one of them was just blush obsessed. I was bronze obsessed at that time. So I made her really bronzy and gorgeous, but she was like, can we have a bit more blush? And I was really tentative. But yeah, so it's one of those things where I just realized like it really is very much a personal preference, which is so fine. So that's it. I've pretty much gone in with my blush for now. Now what we're going to do is set my under eyes, because all that concealer, you know, that gorgeous concealer has basically been sat for a little while. And I have made the mistake of doing this before that blush step that I just showed you, and honestly it doesn't end very well. So yeah, try to maybe make sure that you don't do the powder before any of your wet stuff. So I'm just going to quickly go back in with this just to make sure like any of the creases from my expressions haven't like set into the concealer that we've already applied. And now I'm going in with the, ooh, which way around? There we are. The Huda Beauty powder in mine. This one's in Peach Pie. I basically alternate between this Peach Pie and Banana Bread. Yeah. Okay, so basically I'm just going to tap, tap, tap. And then once you've got it on your little puff, you just want to puff it onto your hand to make sure like it's kind of the powder's ready to apply where you're going to apply it and it's not too dense or whatever. So yeah, I'm just going to go in. I like to go in basically from the inner corner and pull it out. I don't do like the full baking business, like I don't do too much, but it pretty much is just to make my under eye last so much longer. So, and honestly, this powder, there's just nothing like it. I've actually owned these two that I just mentioned. None of them are finished, and I've owned the first one, the Banana Bread one, since I want to say this is the 3rd year I've owned it, which is a bit insane. I don't even know if I should still be using it actually. But it just has not run out for me, which is crazy. And then this Peach Pie one was a gift during my wedding time. So this is basically over a year old as well. Nowhere near finishing. You can see that. I use it literally almost daily, which is crazy. So yeah, and then I'm going to do the same thing underneath where you saw I kind of set my concealer earlier. I feel like this is really nice for just giving your face a little bit of shape. Especially at the moment because my face is giving very chubby. So yeah, just doing the same. Like I said, I'm not doing the full kind of cut your face and make it really, really like baking. I'm just putting powder where I feel like my face needs a bit of setting as well. So around my lip, around my nose gets really sweaty. So just basically setting that so it stays, especially as a gym girl. This powder's been a godsend. So okay, amazing. Now that the powder's done, essentially I've obviously just letting it sit. I haven't overly baked or anything, but I'm just going to let it sit while it's there. Give it a couple of seconds. And then while we're letting it sit, let's go in with our bronzer. This, I'm basically using, I am so in need of a new bronzer, guys. So if you have any recommendations, please feel free to drop them. But I'm just basically using this Morphe palette, which is a face palette. This is 8T Totally Tan. And I'm going to show you how battered it is. It basically fell a couple of times, so don't judge. But it's one of those palettes that has like bronzer, blush, everything, like highlight kind of in one. And silly me thought I'd use this a lot more just because when I'm traveling, I can just take the one thing, but that doesn't happen. I basically just use this that you can see is really kind of dented. This is broken because I dropped it. That's why it's gone, but I basically just use that one bronzer. So yeah, go in with any bronzer you like. I'm going in with like a really big buffing brush. It's a bit looser, but again, unbranded, so I'm not too sure where it's from. So we're going to go in with this, and I basically, as you can see where I've sort of cut off the line with the powder, I'm just going to go in on top. And I just like do literally the tiniest bit of bronze to create a bit of shape. Nothing major, because again, this is just everyday makeup, nothing too heavy, but I just like a bit of bronze and I like a bit of kind of contouring effect on my face. I don't know if you can probably see it already, but it kind of brings in my cheekbones and whatever. So yeah, that is that. Beautiful. And then same thing kind of under my jawline. I'm just going to buff out a little bit. Leave it to sit. And that is that. Okay, gorgeous. Pretty much it for my bronzer for today. Just because we're not going in with too much. And now I'm going to go in. Actually, now we're going to go in and just get rid of the powder that we've already put on. I'm using this, which is like a thin powder brush. And all I'm going to do is brush off / pat in the powder we've already put on. So that is basically it. I kind of push it in because we didn't put too much on to begin with, so it's not like I need to overly brush anything off. So there we are. That is that. And then I'm going to go in with my powder blush now. Like I mentioned, I kind of love blush at the moment. This one is from NARS with a very astaghfirullah name, so I'm not going to be saying that. But yeah, this is the one from NARS. Gorgeous. Cannot complain. And again, actually this one I've owned since before my wedding. So good. As in, as you can see, I've barely even scraped the surface, so it lasts so long. I'm going in with this pink. This one's actually from Real Techniques, but it's just like a blush brush. And doing the same thing as before, I'm just gonna smile and basically bring it up like the apple of my cheek. With this one, as I'm putting this one on, I kind of blend upwards. There we go. And then I like it on my nose too. You don't have to do it, but just like a little bit across the bridge of my nose. Okay, gorgeous. That is my face done. I do put on now some setting spray. There's a couple that I like, but we're going to go in with this one, which is the Hangover 3-in-1, again, Too-Faced. And this I like because it's a 3-in-1. It's basically like a primer, setting, all of it. But because of that, it's quite glowy because it's not like too much. It's not just for setting. Anyway. Now, once I've put that on, is when I go in with a bit of highlight. So I do like a bit of shimmer. This is the Beauty Pie shimmer. It's the Triple Beauty Perfect Glowy Powder in the shade Glowio. I actually really like this. As you can see, it's more of like a champagne-y kind of color. And I think for me, when it comes to highlight, I used to bloody love highlight, but now I just like subtle highlight. So I'm using a fan brush and literally just applying it on sort of the top part of my face. I sometimes brush like a little under my eyebrow, a little bit on the bridge of my nose, and a little there. Just to add that bit of depth. There we go. Okay, gorgeous. That is my little bit of highlight done. Now, where are we? Skin and basically my face is pretty much done. My eyelash curler is atrocious, so you're not gonna see that. But anyway, eyelashes curled, nothing major. Then I'm gonna go in with my mascara. So one of the things I did want to tell you guys is a lot of you have commented on wanting like a makeup video. And in every one of those I was wearing lashes, so I just wanted to show you exactly what lashes those are. I have finally lost the left eye of both of these, so I'm just going to show you them so you know which ones I'm talking about, but I'm not going to be demonstrating them today. So I basically have been using this, which is the Eyelure 3/4 length lash. And this genuinely was such a funny discovery for me. I always try to wear lashes, never like the look, because I think for me, I don't like makeup that looks too in your face. And I realized literally only probably like this end of last year, that all I need to do is basically go for like these more natural looking 3/4 length or even half length ones, depending on your eye. I was going for half length, but they basically, not half, like just the short kind of on the edge ones, they just didn't look like enough for me, I think, because I've got quite big eyes. So the 3/4 length is so good. This one, I don't know if there's a specific name. 3/4 length natural, basically, guys, just go for something like this. But sadly I won't be able to demonstrate those today. Anyway, let's go in with our mascara now. So Too Faced, this one is another little naughty name, but we're gonna go in with this mascara. I obviously go with just black, to be honest. I have seen people go with like brown mascara and things like that, and I think they're really brave, but I have black lashes, so I'm gonna go in with a simple black mascara. Now give me a sec, I need to get up close to the mirror for this. Okie dokie, so mascara basically done using this. I let it set a little and then I'll sometimes go in again, so that might happen. But anyway, I'm not really doing lashes or anything, so for today we're just leaving it as just that, which is very cute. And to be honest, guys, we are actually almost there, final leg. The last thing that I do is basically my lips, and this, you're gonna see, just brings the whole look together. It literally goes from like 0 to 100 very quick. And this is a combination that I'm telling you I use quite literally every day. And what I do is on like a wedding or a bigger occasion, I just go in a bit darker with the lip liner. On a normal day, I go in a bit lighter. And by lighter, I quite literally mean how much pressure I apply when I'm putting this on. So in terms of lip liner, this is my go-to at the moment. It's the Barry M chocolate lip liner. I am such a browns girl when it comes to like eyes. Clearly, I showed you with my eyeshadow, and then also with lips as well. And then I top that with this lifter gloss from Maybelline, and this is in number 7 Amber. And that is basically it. That is my combo all the time. And I sometimes switch it up with lip liners, but at the moment this has just been my go-to. So I'm gonna go in and again get a bit up close to the mirror. Sorry guys. So I'll show you guys once I've done like my lip liner. So I kind of go in across, basically overline, outline my lips, do a bit of contour, and then I'll go in. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, that is the best I can do for the time being. And then I do a line down the middle, each side. That's about it. Looks like a bit of a train wreck at the moment, but it's coming together. And then we're going to go in with the gloss. Now you're going to see how everything comes together, and the final look is the final look. Give me a sec. Are you ready? Let the gloss do the work. And that is basically it. It's so funny how much personality just putting on a bit of gloss gives me, but that is basically the look. I'm trying to think if I've missed anything major. Sometimes I put in like a white eyeliner, which is also very cute to like add that 2 seconds longer to your makeup routine, but actually it really elevates the look. But otherwise, that is pretty much it. Like I said, you can add lashes, you can add liner, you can go in harder with like the blush, you can go in harder with the bronze, but this is such a good staple everyday way to do your makeup that you can basically elevate or do less with. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. Yeah, this is basically it. Right, so this is obviously the finished product. Thank you guys so much for going along this journey with me. Apologies if this was probably the most chaotic makeup video you've ever seen, but I hope it was truly helpful. And this is pretty much exactly what I do. Like I said, for most events, I just elevate it, put on like lashes and lipstick or whatever, or do a bit less if I can't be bothered. So I hope this was super, super helpful. And inshallah, I hope it was easy to follow. As always, please do like, comment and subscribe because it goes such a long way. And please also feel free to drop in the comments below if there are any other kinds of videos that you guys would love to see. Jazakumullah khairan, and I'll see you in the next video. Salam.